Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Hurry Up. This is week 5. I'm going to start you out with some picks. We got a great show for you today. Week 5 picks, get your pens and papers ready because we're going to start the show. Here we go. Philadelphia, Buffalo. I'm going with Buffalo. Buffalo's at home. They want to make sure that last week wasn't a fluke. So they want to show their fans and this team that they're for real. Philadelphia has some question marks. They're reeling a little bit. We'll see what happens. New Orleans, Carolina. I am going with New Orleans here, even though Cam Newton's playing phenomenal football or doing phenomenal things with the football in terms of passing. He still is a rookie, still green. I think New Orleans takes this game. Oakland, Houston. Al Davis just passed away. Unfortunately, rest in peace, Al Davis. I'm going with Oakland. I was on Houston, but Al Davis passed away, so it's kind of tough to really pick the Houston team after the Oakland Raiders owner died. We'll get into that a little later. Kansas City, Indianapolis. I'm going with Indy. Cincinnati, Jacksonville. I'm going with Cincinnati. Jacksonville doesn't know how to get out of his own way. Arizona, Minnesota. I'm going with Arizona. Seattle, New York. I'm going with New York. Tennessee, Pittsburgh. Upset special. I'm going with Tennessee. San Diego, Denver. I'm going with San Diego. New England and New York Jets. I'm going with New England. Green Bay, Atlanta. I'm going with Green Bay. I don't think they're going to lose to that Atlanta team. That back end of their defense is atrocious. So we'll see what happens there. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to light them up. It'll be a great fantasy play today. Play Aaron Rodgers. And Detroit and Chicago. I'm going with Detroit. They got the playoffs going on. They got the first Monday Night Football game in a long time. It's time for the Detroit Lions to rise up and show the world on Monday Night Football on national TV what they're really made of. I'm picking the Detroit Lions. Let's go. Let's head into some question segment right now. We have a couple questions from some fans. First one is from Jay. Jay asks, "How have the defensive rules hampered the defense's ability to be effective?" Well, Jay, to answer your question, the rules have hampered the defense. The new Chuck rules and the unsportsmanlike conduct, the illegal touching rules and things like that. Because back in the day, the reason the league was such a run-oriented league was because receivers couldn't get off the line. Receivers were thrown to the ground a little bit more. They were a little more brutal to the outside skill positions more than they are now. And obviously, just like in basketball, there were rules where they were hand fighting and hand checking, and these type of things hampered the offense and the ability to get the ball out. Now, the reason you're getting a lot of these Madden-esque scores is because people can't be touched after a 5-yard rule. That's why there's a lot more zone coverage now than there was. Man, back in the day, you used to press a receiver, and if you had a bigger corner than the receivers, you could push these guys around. Now receivers are getting bigger and faster, and it's becoming a hindrance to the defense because a lot of these guys are so big now than they were back in past years. Past years, the average receiver used to be 5'9" to 5'11", 180 to 190 pounds. Now you got Larry Fitzgerald's on almost every team now. Everyone's trying to get a Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, and those guys are the reason the defense is having trouble because they used to be able to press these little guys off the line and they couldn't do anything. Now, because of the speed, they have to back off. Because of the nature of the rules, they have to back off. And what that allows them to do is the receivers just basically box out and they throw the ball up, and there's a lot more favoritism towards the offense. That's why I see all these balloon scores. Will there be an ebb and flow back to the defensive side? We never know, but you get more casual fans with the way their defense is played. So that's your question. Great question. Hopefully that answers for you, Jay. Next question is from Albert. Albert asks, who will be considered the greatest linebacker of all time, LT or Ray Lewis after he retires? Well, Al, I'm going not just because I'm a fan of the team behind me, but I'm going with LT because of the impact that he has had on the game and the way that teams and quarterbacks had to make sure they identified 56 and where he was coming from. Ray Lewis is a great talent. He's not quite on the. You could say 1A and 1B for Ray Lewis, but there's a lot of other guys you can lump in there with the Ray Lewis, Derek Thomas, Mike Singletary. Those guys come to mind. LT revolutionized that position. He basically made the position of what a linebacker was supposed to do, and he just flipped the whole script on it in terms of pass rush and flying to the quarterback. with that much force from a linebacker spot. Ray Lewis does little different things. He anchors the defense, not much of a pass rush specialist. It's not like we haven't seen a Ray Lewis. There's another Ray Lewis on the cusp right now. He plays over in the Bay Area in Patrick Willis. So check that guy out. He's good. He wears the same number. Is probably going to be on that level. Hopefully, barring any injuries. So Ray Lewis, great linebacker. Already is going to have his bust in Canton. Two different type of players. I still think LT has the most impact in terms of what he has done for the game and how he has revolutionized the position. So LT, I think, wins that battle hands down. The next question is from Phil. Phil asks, "What's more important?" It's kind of a two-part question. What's more important, what's more important in the game? A game QB that's a game manager or a game-changing QB? I'll answer the first part, and the second part is, why don't more coaches play to their personnel strength as opposed to force-feeding schemes? Phil, great questions. Let me get into the first part. You want a QB that is a franchise QB. That what everyone build. It's like in a baseball team, you want to have that ace. You want to have that guy who is going to take the mound, and he's going to give you a great effort, and you're going to have the best chance of winning. You want that in your QB. With the offenses now that are so complex and the diversity of how offenses change and what you need to see and defensive schemes that are changing, you want a quarterback that's more than a game manager. You saw the last game manager was with the Ravens. They told Trent Dilfer, don't screw this up. Our defense will win us the ball game. Just get us in position to get some points. And that's what he did. A game manager, you can't really build around unless you have a good defense, and it doesn't really do much for your team, and it kind of sets you back if you're just keeping a seat warm. You could have said a guy like Luke McCown is a game manager, or a Jake Delhomme was a game manager at his point in time. Even older quarterbacks such as a Donovan right now is a game manager. They don't want him to do much. But I mean, Donovan does have a reputation, so right now he'd probably be better off as a game manager. So a game manager, you want more of a game-changing QB, but you have to have him manage the game as you're bringing him up, so he can learn the nuances of the game. You don't want to drown him too early and squander his growth. You know what I mean? So Phil, great question. Your second part of your question: why do coaches don't play to their personnel strength? Well, I think of it like this, Phil. I think of it as like a teaching tool. Your teacher needs to find out your strengths and why you don't do well on certain tests or why you don't do well in certain subjects, because the language may not, or the literature may not be given to you in a way that you understand it. So what happens is, instead of playing to your personnel scheme, you got a guy who can run a 4-3 in Darius Hayward Bay. You're force feeding him the offense instead of giving him simple packages to learn the offense. Okay, here's 10 plays. Break it down. This is the 10-play package we're going to give you. All right, learn these 10 plays. Come back to me. I know there's a lot of plays in a playbook. I'm just giving you a small example of what they should do. Instead of force feeding a guy and trying to fit him into a scheme, they should break it down for the guy himself. Kind of work him in that way. So that's what I feel. It's a lot harder to do that when these guys, you don't know their strengths and weaknesses. Maybe they should sit down more in the off season and sit with these guys and make them more of a rapport. So it's on both ends. The guy has to know, the player has to know his strengths and weaknesses, as well as the coach need to know his, as well as the players, so they can come to a compromise and help get it together. Good coaches know their personnel. And that's why coaches like Bill Belichick always have winners, because he knows his schemes and he knows his players. Last question is from Ambrose. He asks, will Eli Manning finally earn the respect of negative Giant fans and general fans and earn the title of elite QB like Rivers and Brady? Well, right now he's playing at an elite level. We'll see if he can keep it up. Will Manning ever get the respect he deserves? Not if he continues his career in New York. He'll never do it because the media here is so it gets on you so no matter what you do, good, bad, or otherwise. It's tough to do that here. If he goes to another team, he would be in that elite status. Teams would love him, and he would not be so maligned. Even if Peyton Manning was here today, Peyton Manning has some bad games where he throws 4 interceptions. Not all the time. Not all the time. He would still be criticized. I mean, look at the guy number 6 on the Jets. That guy is getting eaten alive after a bad performance, but that was on his offensive line. So you know what I mean. The New York media is tough. Do I think Eli has the capability? Yes. Will he be in the upper echelon? I think he'll be a top 10 quarterback when it's said and done. He might even have, if he's lucky, he may even have his bust in Canton. I'm not going to go that far right now, but he's playing well. Ambrose, enjoy his play. Enjoy Week 5. This has been your Week 5 edition of the Hurry Up. Everybody, enjoy the games. Have a great day. I'll see you next week.